Every 4 years, Philippine basketball gets a chance to measure itself against the continent's best in the Asian Games. In order to match up against Asia's finest, it's only logical for the Philippines to send its best, meaning guys from the PBA. I am Jorge De Vera, and let's skim through the list of PBA-led national teams in the Asian Games. Here on Basketball Almanac.
There's a dead ball situation now. They can call for a 30-second injury timeout.
The Philippines has the third most medals in Asian Games basketball with 7. 4 of those are golds, but the problem is we haven't won any gold after 1962. And to chase that elusive medal, the country decided to start fielding teams with PBA stars starting in 1990. Before we started deploying professionals to international competitions, the national team was made up of amateur stars. The most successful ones were led by Coach Ron Jacobs, who mentored the Northern Consolidated Cement team backed by businessman Danding Coangco. But the 1986 People Power Revolution did not only change the landscape of Philippine politics, it also altered the fate of Philippine basketball. Coangco, as a Marcos crony, had to leave the country and his NCC program had to be scrapped. All of the team's amateur stars then headed for the PBA to turn pro. Without the continuity that the NCC fostered, the Philippines began slipping in the arena of world basketball. The biggest heartbreak came in 1989 as the national team failed to win gold in the Southeast Asian Games for the second time ever. But that same year, we saw a ray of hope and a landmark decision by FIBA allowing professional players to represent their countries. That opened a door of opportunity for the Philippines, which was then hell-bent for redemption by sending an all-PBA team for the first time in the 1990 Beijing Asian Games. Robert Jaworski was appointed head coach of the star-studded team with Ginebra assistant coach Rino Salazar and Norman Black of San Miguel as his deputies.
Here's Mon Fernandez. Massey, good kick, elegant start.
Headlining the lineup are Ramon Fernandez, who had the publicized feud with Jaworski in prior years, Alvin Patrimonio, a future 4-time MVP, and Benji Paras, the PBA's first and only rookie MVP. Also on the roster are the triggerman, Alan Caidic, the point laureate, Ronnie Magsano, the Skywalker, Samboy Lim, and the director, Hector Calma. Rounding up the lineup are Chito Loizaga, Dante Gonzalgo, and Ray Cuenco of Ginebra, Zaldi Realubit of Presto, and Ives Dignadice of San Miguel.
That team only had 3 weeks to practice. Okay? There was no, walang tigil-tigil yung PBA competition. Unlike iba, nag-a-adjust ang PBA schedule ng Gilas. Noon wala. Sabay ang PBA tournament, the All-Filipino Conference noong 1990. Yun na lang ang ginamit ni Jawo na parang pinaka-tryouts niya. With this in mind, si Jawo, syempre he went with some players who were already familiar with the system. There's some reason kasi kung bakit sinali yung ibang players niya sa Ginebra. Pero you have to understand, wala siyang time eh. So he had to pick players who were familiar with the system na.
The team easily dispatched Pakistan in the first game through a 129-81 win. But the nationals later found themselves tested in the second game versus Japan.
Under the hoop, we've got a connection. by Yamasaki.
After trailing by 14 at the half, Alan Kaidik sparked a furious 22-0 run to start the third quarter and seize the momentum.
In the first half, basket of the Philippines. Alan Kaidik going 44-43.
The Filipinos later gutted out an 86-78 win.
Rebound by Patrimonio. Defensive rebound by Alvin there. Tigerish move by...
In the second round, Chito Loizaga's pesky defense on North Korea's 7'8" giant, Ri Myung-hun, was key to the team's 98-82 win.
Mon Fernandez and Chito Loizaga. Alley-oop play for a connection that was Jang Young-John with the assist.
The Filipinos encountered a harsh reality check when they faced the formidable Chinese team. Banking on a great blend of size, speed, and shooting, the hosts blew out the Philippines 125-60 in their first meeting. But the Nationals rebounded by beating UAE and repeating a victory over the Japanese in the semifinals to set up a rematch with China for the gold.
He gets a screen five and takes it.
The result wasn't any different from their first encounter, though, as China rolled past the Philippines 90-76. The 1990 campaign remains the best finish by any Philippine team in the ASEAN ever since.
The silver medal was pretty good, pretty impressive, but we also learned we were still far away from China. Our best players just couldn't compete with China at that stage. Malayo pa talaga. We lost by 65 points. My gosh, it's the first meeting, 125-60. And then in the gold medal match, we were a little more competitive. We lost by 14 points. You could still see the talent gap was there. They had 3 7-footers. We just couldn't beat them. Lalo na pa sa China pa ginawa.
Alan Kaidik is up!
In the 1994 Asian Games in Hiroshima, Japan, Alvin Patrimonio, Alan Kaidik, and Hector Calma all returned to play in the squad, coached this time by Norman Black. Joining the trio were San Miguel's Franz Pumaren, Ato Agustin, and Alvin Teng. Ray Evangelista and Jerry Codinero of Pure Foods, Alaska's Johnny Abarientos and Dong Polistico, and Barangay Ginebra's Marlu Aquino. Kenneth Doremdes was included in the roster a year before being drafted into the PBA. The Philippines handily won its first 3 games against Kazakhstan, Iran, and UAE by a margin of 10.6 points. But in their last game of the first round, the Filipinos suffered a costly 79-86 loss against South Korea. That loss meant that the Nationals would go up against China in the semifinals. The result was much closer this time, but the Philippines still lost 74-85 to the eventual champions.
Johnny fires. Yeah! He is red hot.
In the bronze medal game, the Filipinos absorbed a tough 3-point loss to host Japan in overtime, 76-79. The Filipinos, composed of the country's top basketball stars, went home empty-handed.
Ato Agustin missed a 3-point shot at the buzzer. But before that, si Alvin Patrimonio had 2 free throws and he missed. And then we were forced to foul Japan. They made both their free throws, so naging 3 points ang lamang and we failed to convert at the buzzer.
Nung dumating kami sa gym, last 2+ minutes, 3 minutes I think. So kailangan nung kalahating teams na mag-tape, yung kalahati mag-warm up para umabot kami dun sa start ng game. Hindi kami nakapag-warm up ng maayos. Hindi kami nakapag-game plan, wala halos na isulat si Coach Norman. Naglaro kami na parang straight from the village, dire-diretso sa court. Tapos jam ball. Then we came back again noong 1998. Hindi pa rin kami ganun ka-prepared. We end up again fighting for bronze medal.
We lost that game truly because of coaching mistakes, not because of talent or skill or anything else. I took the wrong approach. We were so intent on beating China that honestly, we kind of looked past Korea, and I can't believe we were that dumb to do that, that I was that dumb to do that now.
The results from those 1990 and 1994 teams were pretty encouraging. So, PBA stars continued to fly the country's colors in the 1998 and 2002 ASEAN. But on both occasions, the PBA Stars had a good shot at ending the country's gold medal drought. But the breaks of the tournament did not go their way. In another quest for the elusive ASEAN gold, the Philippines assembled one of the most memorable squads ever in 1998. In celebration of the country's 100th year of independence, the 12-man lineup was set to compete in Bangkok, was called the Centennial team. The roster was coached by none other than Tim Cohn, mentor of the 1996 Grand Slam Alaska team. Alan Caidic and Alvin Patrimonio suited up for the fourth and final time in the Asian Games, while 1994 RP team members Johnny Abarientos, Marlo Aquino, and Kenneth Doremdes returned for patriotic duties as well. Joining them were Mobiline's Andy Siegel, San Miguel's Olsen Racela, Pop Cola's Vergel Meneses, Santa Lucia's Jun Limpot and Dennis Espino, Pure Foods EJ File, and Alaska's Jojo Lastimosa.
You know, when we built that team, the idea at that time was we wanted to beat China. That was our big goal, was to try to match up and play China. I went out to try to match as much as we could their size, and that's why we picked up EJ File and Mario Aquino and Andy Siegel, Dennis Espino. We had pretty good size in that team also. I think the thing we adjusted midway is we realized we didn't have enough shooters, and we added Alan Caidic to the team about halfway through, about midway. We just felt we needed someone to spread us out a little bit more.
Bong Xiaobin, ito kilala natin to. Who will play power forward for this team.
The Centennial team's preparations were more extensive compared to the two previous squads. In their first games together, the Nationals swept a pair of PBA All-Star selection. The next conquest was the 1998 Jones Cup, which the national team also swept en route to a gold medal. But a reality check came in the 1998 PBA Centennial Cup, where the RP team managed to win just one of 8 games by losing by an average of 16 points. The team even traveled to the US to play a couple of tune-up games against NCAA teams, though one match with the Minnesota Gophers ended in a brawl.
We were so exhausted from that NCAA tournament, totally exhausted. We played 10 games in 14 days, and we traveled 3,500 kilometers by bus to go to all those games. And we took one flight. And of course, we had one huge rumble in Minnesota. If you know the history of that, everybody remembers that big rumble. It was even all over. It was all over Sports Center on ESPN.
In the Asian Games proper, the Centennial team looked like it was finally going to meet lofty expectations by sweeping the first 4 contests. After surviving a 1-point thriller to Kazakhstan in the ASEAN opener, the Nationals proceeded to blow out Kyrgyzstan, UAE, and Thailand by a margin of 34 points. Then came South Korea. For the second straight tournament, the Philippines took another big loss from the Koreans via a 20-point decimation.
The thing they beat us was really their quickness. And I mean, we could have played 3 guards because we had that versatility, and we could have played 2 forwards. We could have played Alvin and Jun Limpot together, or Alvin and Dennis together as our forwards, and then played 3 guards for Hell, Kenneth and Johnny or whatever. We lost that game truly because of coaching mistakes, not because of talent or skill or anything else. I took the wrong approach. We were so intent on beating China that honestly, we kind of looked past Korea, and I can't believe we were that dumb to do that I was that dumb to do that now.
It was deja vu for the 1994 Asian Games. The loss put the Filipinos in a collision course against powerhouse China in the semifinals. The Chinese later quashed the country's chances of a gold by scoring an 82-73 win.
That was a tough moment, losing that game against China. But I'm looking back on it, and I blame that game against China on the Korean game. I mean, I thought I did a great job of coaching, honestly, against China, but it was already too late. I had blown it from a coaching standpoint against Korea, and that was totally my fault. And I still carry that today.
If you think about it, sobrang lakas talaga ng China that time. Halos buong buhay nila magkakasama sila doon sa team na yun. So kaya ganun Ganun sila kahirap talunin that time. Wang Shishi, Batirmeng, yung best player nila na nag-NBA, nandoon nung time na yun
And Andy, the game's about to begin. Philippines against Kazakhstan.
In order to salvage its Asiad campaign, the Centennial team needed to regroup and turn its focus on the bronze medal match versus Kazakhstan. Fortunately, one angry player at the end of the bench had all the motivation for the Philippines to explode.
Jojo had that unique ability. When he got angry or when he got riled up, his focus really narrowed, and he narrowed into that basketball game. And so when he went into the game, he was locked in, and he just literally took it over. Basically, he was sending a message to me personally. Hey, you blew it. If you'd done this, let me play earlier, we wouldn't be in this basketball game as it was. Difficult as that was to handle, it turned out to be a great thing for us.
After barely playing in the first 6 games, Tim Cohn set a hungry Jojo Lastimosa loose against the Kazakhs. Lastimosa delivered and scored 7 points in the final minute to anchor the Philippines to a narrow 73-68 win for the bronze. The end initially felt disappointing for the squad, but later on, everyone had a different perspective of that 1998 campaign.
The first thing I think about is that I have to apologize for blowing that opportunity to win a gold at that time. It's funny, my wife always looks back on it and says, well, you won a bronze, no one else has won a bronze since then. And I said, you know what, we didn't win a gold. And that was really the focus. We were so intent on winning the gold at that time. I can't tell you, that's all we talked about, winning a gold, winning a gold, winning a gold. So bronze didn't seem like much. And now it's, we'll take it, but we didn't get that gold.
That 1998 squad ended up as the last Philippine team to win a medal in the Asian Games.
I think we found the right combination with guys like this.
4 years later, another national team came within striking distance. A new generation of stars headlined the 2002 team that trooped to Busan, South Korea in search for basketball glory. Olsen Racela returned for a second tour of duty along with Dennis Espino and Andy Siegel. Alaska's Kenneth Doremdes donned the Philippine jersey for the third and final time in the Asian Games. The rest of the core was made up of Asi Taulao of Talk and Text, Coca-Cola's Jeff Creaso and Rudy Hatfield, San Miguel's Daniel Defonso and Dondo Nontiveros, Barangay Ginebras' Eric Menk, Batang Red Bulls' Mick Penisi, and Noy Castillo of Pure Foods. That team sustained 2 tough blows even before it played a single game in the tournament. Legendary coach Ron Jacobs was replaced by Jongwoo Chico at the helm after the American coach suffered a mild stroke. In days before the team left for Busan, Danny Siegel ruptured his left Achilles during their last tune-up game against Qatar. But the Nationals soldiered on to Busan, where they cleared the first 2 games in Group C against North Korea and UAE. The Filipinos won 2 more games in the quarterfinals against Japan and Chinese Taipei before slamming into the Chinese Great Wall. The China team featured Hall of Fame center Yao Ming, who was drafted first overall later that year by the Houston Rockets. China went on to wallop the Philippines 92-51.
Honestly, hindi naman kami talaga nag-prepare for China. We prepared really for Korea. We never prepared for China. But that is why I got Mick Penisi kasi ang balak ko talaga at that time facing China, assuming in the championship, was to spread Yao Ming. So I got Penisi, the big shooter na sentro. And that spreads everybody out kasi mahilig mag-sono yung China. Maski nandun si Yao Ming, I have a shooter 5 at that time. So yun yung parang secret weapon, kumbaga, parang gano'n.
Despite the loss, the Filipinos still had a clear path to the gold. All it had to do was get past South Korea, who had proven to be a thorn on the country's side in the Asian Games. It looked like the Filipinos were on their way to arranging a rematch with China in the championship match. With less than a minute left, Olsen Racela buried a huge 3 that gave the team a 68-66 lead with less than a minute to go. After the Koreans failed to convert on the following possession, Racela was sent to the free throw line for 2 shots. But Racela, who shot 84% on free throws for his entire career, missed both chances to put the game out of reach with over 20 seconds remaining. After that, Lee Sang-min happened.
Yung South Korea game, that was parang kasinundok sa tiyan. That buzzer beating three really stuck a knife into all Filipino basketball fans.
It was a heartbroken Philippine team that fought for the bronze, losing a narrow 2-point game to Kazakhstan to finish fourth. Many credit this game as the origin of the so-called Korean curse, but this was actually the third straight time that South Korea kept the Filipinos from a better finish in the ASEAN. The curse had a long, long shadow.
Everyone was really down. Even sa dugout, everybody was crying, diba? Because all their hard work, parang nawala yung lahat ng trabaho nila, lahat ng sakripisyo. I think we practiced for about 6 months, if I'm not mistaken. And just in one shot, one 3-point shot, one last second shot, natapos na lang. We carried it over to the next day and the next days. It stuck with us, and it will always be there.
Gilas made history in 2013 when they finally got over the Korean curse to clinch silver in the FIBA Asia Championships.
Gilas Pilipinas books a ticket to Spain next year.
That led to a historic campaign in the 2014 FIBA World Cup, where Gilas tallied its first win in over 40 years on the global stage. After that heartbreak in 2002, it took another 12 years before another PBA-starred team represented the country in the Asian Games. Although the 2014 and 2018 campaigns did not yield medals, these stints did pave the way for bigger and more ambitious plans for Philippine basketball moving forward. After the 2002 Asian Games, things got rocky for Philippine basketball. Now, thanks to a power struggle that led to the disbandment of the Basketball Association of the Philippines, the country was suspended from competing internationally for almost 2 years. This prevented the Philippines from playing in the 2006 ASEAN. The ban was eventually lifted after the Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas was established. But it would take a while until another PBA-powered team was deployed to the Asian Games.
Here's Japet Aguilar, the first local scorer.
In the 2010 edition of the Games, the country was represented by the Smart Gilas team, a program mainly composed of amateur stars to help the Philippines qualify for the 2012 Olympics. Only 3 PBA stars belonged to the lineup: Asita Olava, Kelly Williams, and Sol Mercado. Another loss to South Korea in the quarterfinals sidetracked the Filipinos, who settled for a 6th-place finish in the field of 16. The arrival of Gilas 2.0 officially signified the return of an all-PBA national team for international tournaments. There was a lot of optimism surrounding the core under coach Chot Reyes, especially after a tremendous stretch from 2012 to 2014.
Jeff to Douthit. Kicks it over. 3-pointer on the way. Yes!
In the 2012 William Jones Cup,
LA has 12 seconds to work with. Tenorio with an 18-footer. Yes!
Gilas became the first Philippine squad since the Centennial team in 1998 to capture the gold.
6 seconds to work with. Jimmy launches it.
Gilas made history in 2013 when they finally got over the Korean curse to clinch silver in the FIBA Asia Championships.
Gilas Pilipinas books a ticket to Spain next year.
That led to a historic campaign in the 2014 FIBA World Cup, where Gilas tallied its first win in over 40 years on the global stage. When the same Gilas team showed up in the 2014 Asian Games, expectations shot through the roof.
Back to Andre. 3 on the way.
Unfortunately, Gilas ran into a set of problems that would eventually doom its campaign in Inchon, South Korea.
Yung inside presence ni Marcus Douthit. Oh, yes! Count it!
After the Asian Games Organizing Committee ruled Andre Blatch ineligible, Gilas called up longtime import Marcus Douthit. Douthit joined 10 men who played in the World Cup. Jimmy Alapag, L.A. Tenorio, Paul Lee, Jeff Chan, Gary David, Gabe Norwood, Ranidel de Ocampo, June Marfajardo, Japeth Aguilar, and Mark Pingris. Jared Dillinger replaced Jason Castro in the lineup.
Norwood. Whoops, lost the ball.
Gilas split its first two games in Group E, but disaster would not completely strike until the next round.
Nelson pitches it out. Jimmy. Pumunta kay Inchon. Here comes the long one. No!
A shocking loss to a lowly Qatar team marked the beginning of the country's campaign in Group H. The next day, Gilas suffered a regretful 2-point loss to host South Korea, putting their hopes of making the medal round in grave danger. Gilas still had a chance to make it to the semifinals provided, but if only they beat Kazakhstan by 11 points. And that's when things got weird.
67-65, 14.6 seconds remaining. The only way we can advance. So we get into overtime, and there you go. Marcus Douthit will tie the game. Oh, bakit no count?
I don't think Marcus just went out there and did it by himself. Remember, we needed to either win by a certain amount. I don't remember the exact situation, but it was very, very unique spot where I don't think any of us have really been in before. I think we were trying to draw out the game or force overtime or something like that. It was just a numbers thing.
After that 2-point win that felt like a massive loss, Gilas lost one more game against China before settling for 7th place after blowing out Mongolia. The 2014 Asian Games run was the worst finish by any Philippine team in the Asian Games.
There were a lot of good, high expectations with that team coming from Spain, where they fought hard against Croatia, Argentina, Puerto Rico. Pinahirapan nila yung mga teams na yon, mga acknowledged na world powers. The thinking was, pagdating sa Asian Games, we're gonna steamroll over everybody because we nearly beat world powers in Spain. So yun, may expectation na ganon. Pero yun nga lang, wala si Andre Blatch.
Castro pulls it for a three. How about that?
The SBP later shuffled through different Gilas teams in various tournaments. As a result, only Paul Lee and Gabe Norwood from the 2014 team made the roster for the next Asian Games 4 years later. This national team that battled in Jakarta, Indonesia was dubbed as the Gilas Painters. A total of 8 players were handled by Coach Ian Giao at various points in their careers. Lee, Norwood, Maverick Hanmisi, Chris Chu, Raymond Almazan, and Bo Belga all played for Giao with the Elasto Painters. James Yap was now with Rain or Shine at this point, but Giao wasn't around when he was traded from the Pierfans franchise. Meanwhile, Asi Taulava and Poy Eram were both under Giao over at NLEX. Christian Starhardinger and Stanley Pringle were considered naturalized players in FIBA tournaments, but less stringent rules in the Asian Games allowed for their inclusion in the roster.
Jordan on the move, behind his back, puts it up.
But the biggest difference that separated this Gilas squad from all past national teams was one NBA standout.
Big man, 2-on-1. Here we go, back to JC, finisher!
Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson was able to secure clearance from the Cleveland Cavaliers to be able to represent the Philippines for the first time ever.
I know he was just super excited to have the opportunity to come out and represent the Philippines, represent his family. So we were just trying to prepare. Jordan joined us. I think he missed the first game, but we were just trying to prepare the best that we could and really trying to instill our kind of system and things once he did join us to try to put the best performance out there.
Penetrates down the middle, kicks it over. Clarkson with a floater. That's good!
Clarkson immediately lived up to his reputation and delivered 28 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals against China. The Chinese, however, managed to escape with an 82-80 win.
Jordan Clarkson stops and pops from 15 and gets the basket.
Even Clarkson's presence couldn't save Gilas from another loss against South Korea, who scored a 91-82 win despite a big 25-point game from the Phil-Am NBA star. But Clarkson and Gilas didn't go home without bringing back a couple of things to be happy about. Christian Star Hardinger and Jordan Clarkson towed the Philippines past Japan to a 113-80 win in the first classification game. In the battle for fifth, Clarkson dominated with 29 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds to help Gilas secure a 54-point victory over Syria.
No matter the team or the roster, any given day, a team can get hot or a team can have an off day. I think it was just a little bit of familiarity, preparation. Like I said, I think that's the biggest thing I've learned over my experiences playing with the national team. But, Jordan came out and put on a show. And Stanley was playing great, Christian was playing great. Just a lot of guys stepping up and performing at a high level. And it's international play. China's going to always be there in contention. Korea's always strong.
And I remember Coach Yeng telling me after the last game, sabi niya, sayang, if only Jordan Clarkson had arrived a week earlier, he could have gotten his legs under him, he could have gotten more acclimated with the team. I think we would have had a good chance to win the gold medal. Hinayang na hinayang si Coach Yeng eh. Sana pagdating niya sa Jakarta, wala na sana siyang jet lag eh. Pero dumating siya, he was still getting used to the new game. He had to be taken out because he had got cramps in the fourth quarter. But then after that, okay na siya eh. Sayang lang eh.
With the level of talent and star power in the PBA today, it's only a matter of time before the country gets a crack at its first Asian Games gold since 1962. And no matter which direction the national team chooses to go, PBA players will always be at the forefront of these campaigns. After all, these are the stars who still shine the brightest in the universe that is Philippine basketball. I am Lourdes Rivera, and this has been your Basketball Almanac. Tom kasi.